We're so happy to have Darlene Locke from Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. Howdy, Darlene. As a fellow Aggie, I had to get that howdy in. We're so glad that Darlene's joining us to tell us about the Texas 4-H Globe program, the Global Leadership Opportunities Beyond Education. And we're particularly excited because Darlene found out about this program when she was a participant in GLAG 16. She took that information that she learned, brought it back to her home extension office, and now we're going to hear about how she has implemented. So Darlene, we're going to turn it over to you.
All right, good afternoon. Can you hear me? All right, well, I'm just going to go right into the program. GLOBE does stand for Global Leadership Opportunities Beyond Education. This program is our Texas 4-H answer to the My World phrase of the 4-H Pledge. It's a comprehensive citizenship and leadership program for 4-H members in grades 6 through 12. And as she mentioned, it was the inspiration from participating in this program that got us going. GLOBE has 4 primary goals. Those are education, citizenship, cultural awareness, and leadership. And just quickly, I want to kind of go over those in more detail. Through GLOBE, we want to educate our youth about other cultures, poverty, food insecurity, sustainable agricultural systems, and taking personal action to make a difference in their own communities. Through GLOBE, our intent is that the youth will experience other cultures and customs through simulations and experiential learning activities. We've heard a lot about those today. Only through learning about other cultures and communities do we feel that youth can really appreciate those differences. So through GLOBE, we want to give our youth the opportunity to walk in the shoes of others. And finally, GLOBE incorporates team building activities with a set cohort of youth where they have the opportunity to also demonstrate their leadership while conducting service activities in their own community and making public presentations. So a quick review of the GLOBE program. It is a 2-year, 2-tier program. Tier 1 experience involves 3 online webinars and then a simulation experience at Heifer Ranch. Heifer Ranch is a part of the Heifer International program, where the youth experience a simulation of living in an impoverished community. At Heifer Ranch, they have countries represented such as Zambia, Thailand. They also have the urban slums in Appalachia. And then following that experience, the youth would go back in their community for these service activities. Then after completion of the Tier 1 requirements, the youth would qualify for the Tier 2, which ends up being additional online webinars to prepare them for an international experience. I have to turn up my microphone, so let me work on that. So then they would have this international experience in Costa Rica in partnership with Adventure Education Centers. This involves 2 different family homestays, language classes, and then tours of some international agricultural enterprises there. Okay. The focus of GLOBE, I'm going to go through each of the objectives and kind of show you what we did in the Tier 1 experience as well as the Tier 2 experiences. In the education component, again, the online webinars prepared the youth to understand the meanings of culture, poverty, ag sustainability, and philanthropy, and then also how that all relates to different communities and societies. In Tier 1, when the youth travel to Heifer Ranch for the Global Challenge, before they're split up into their mock families, the staff there at Heifer Ranch do an outstanding job of explaining the various communities that are represented there at Heifer Ranch. Here on the right, the youth are learning about a Tibetan community. And then in Tier 2, the youth take their education to a different level when they are involved in Spanish language classes, and then using those language skills immediately in the afternoon as we go out to our various agricultural enterprises. Additionally, the youth, while they're in Costa Rica, they go, one of the experiences, the one pictured here is at Earth University. So they're getting to learn about career opportunities and higher education. But here they're learning from a student who is doing research to help develop sustainable agriculture systems in her native country. The GLOW program, major program focus is on citizenship and philanthropy. The students in the Global Challenge, again, they are living out what it would be like to live in. For our program, the number of youth we had, we experienced 4 different communities: Guatemala, Zambia, Thailand, and the urban slums. They have 3 additional communities: a refugee camp, Tibet, and the other one escapes me right now. But depending on the number of students you have is the number of accommodations. The adults in the program, myself and the other chaperones, are actually given the role of either an elder or a toddler, and so you really can't have any impact on the students about decision making or the task. And so one of the youth on the evaluation even commented how their chaperone was useless and not engaged. And that's really funny because oftentimes they think we're overbearing. But in this case, when we had to actually step back and let them be in charge, they were seeking that involvement from their adult chaperone. Another aha moment of the students was that when we entered the Heifer Ranch property, the phones are taken away, their cell phones. And so one of the comments was we had no phones, and so we couldn't just call somebody for help. We had to walk across and around the lake just to get someone to help us with the fire. The students are having to prepare their own meal, they're having to build a fire, they're having to barter with each other for the various components for their meal. So it's a really, really neat and definitely an experience for the students. In Tier 2, the photo there on the left, this is our, my co-worker and our host mom in the village of Molajones, which is a mountainous community. The families here lived a very simplistic yet sustainable lifestyle. They had outdoor kitchens, which was the source of hot water. They walked everywhere, and these were all very much new ideas for the students that were traveling with us. We all took really quick showers because as they had running water, they did not have running hot water. And even in the summer, up in the mountains of Costa Rica, it gets very cool. So again, just a very hands-on opportunity for the students to live in and among and to learn about a different culture. In our cultural awareness, continuing on that, it's no doubt that the youth got to experience a new culture. In the picture on the left, while at Heifer Ranch, the students, as they are participating and living out the life of another community, here these boys who were participants in the urban slums were having to wash the breakfast dishes after the evening or the breakfast meal. On Tier 2, on the right, we participated in games and activities at the Molajones Community Center, and though they did not speak very fluent English and we spoke very non-fluent Spanish, you can see that the students were able to engage and communicate and to figure out how to communicate. The food in Costa Rica was also a rich experience for our students. The bright colors and the infusion of spices helped them to get past the fact that beans and rice were served with every meal, every day. And so for a lot of them, that was a new experience. And then finally, while participating in agricultural tours each afternoon, the youth learned about sustainability and hard work. Here on the left, they're assisting a guava farmer with some trees, propagating trees there. And then on a small pepper production facility, they get to help the rancher, the farmer, fix those plants so that they're not in contact with the soil. and they get to learn how one operation can take the peppers from harvesting to actual packaging and labeling all right there in one place. They market these products, they take them to the community to sell them. So they gain an appreciation of really how families are sustainable and can produce their source of living there. So lastly, with the leadership, these youth that we have are coming from across the state of Texas. Many have not ever even met one another. They range in grades from 6 to 12. And so we do a lot of work with them on team building and communication and trust building exercises. At Heifer Ranch on the right here, the staff there leads them through some extensive low ropes course activities to work on those skills. And then once they go back in their communities, of course, they're doing their presentations and getting to hone their leadership and speaking skills. On the left there in Costa Rica, we did get the opportunity to participate in some more tourist type activities. And so whitewater rafting on the Pacuari River was quite challenging and really tested their teamwork skills. And of course, was a lot of fun. And then lastly, I would share with you our evaluation process. Through Tier 1 and Tier 2, we had different types of evaluations. With Tier 1, while we were on property, the 27 youth completed a pre and post test. With Tier 2, we chose to use a pre-post evaluation. Not as effective. 13 students traveled with us to Costa Rica. 8 of those completed the pre-post survey. Additionally, 11 of the students of the 13 completed a more qualitative type assessment, a narration of their experience. So here briefly are some results from those evaluations. Oh, excuse me, my left and right hand are not coordinated. But the survey questions revolved around the same 4 objectives. And so with the education component, the Tier 1 respondents indicated that in the pretest that learning valuable information about cultures. In the beginning, we had 96% of the students strongly agree with that. And then for the 2017, because of GLOBE, the students reported that they could understand how poverty impacts food availability and the quality of nourishment. In the citizenship area, the students reported that they understood the difference between the standard of living and poverty. We felt this was really important. Kind of goes back to the idea that Dustin had of where we think we need to go in and fix things. Our students learned that these individuals, while they were in poverty, they still had other type of life things that made it worthwhile of being there. In the cultural awareness, very important part of this is for our students to understand how other people live. And so 30% of youth in the pretest reported strongly agreeing to having the understanding between the difference of, I'm sorry, I've gone back a slide, but anyway, so in the slide of cultural awareness here, the youth had the opportunity in their narration to give us some what it really meant to be there. And then this young man on the left, his quote was, "After living with a family in the mountains of Molojones, I wondered why they chose to stay here rather than living in town where it might be easier." And then after that question, he came back saying that he saw that they loved each other. There was a strong sense of community within the farm workers. They had beautiful views outside. They could pick fruit anytime. And so he just was able to capture that while they didn't have much, what they had was a sense of community. And I think sometimes we forget that. So I will just advance to the end slide where you'll have my contact information there. That way, if you have additional questions, you can be able to contact me. Daniel, I'll turn it back to you or take any questions. I think we're out of time.
Thanks so much, Darlene, for sharing with us your experience with the GLOBE program. You've got lots of great ideas shared, and hopefully, just like you during GLAG 16, someone will see this opportunity and take it back to their home state and implement it in their community. Unfortunately, we don't have time to take any questions live, but if you continue to add your questions to the chat box or on Twitter, Darlene's going to stick around with us and help get those answered. We also know that there's some questions in there. There's some intrigue into what Brad does at Hawkeye Community College, and we'll hop on the chat box a little bit later and get to answering those questions as well before our day is over. Now, as somebody who puts on a lot of conferences, I understand that everybody's favorite time of the conference is when there is time for coffee and snacks. So even though we're having a virtual meeting experience, we wanted to make sure we had those break times. So this is one of those breaks. We really encourage you, if you have one of the conferences in a box, to take a moment and enjoy some of the snacks. If you're a caffeine fiend, there's even something in there for you. Try one of the pocket coffees that was recommended by a past participant. These are from Italy. I just tried one myself, and I'll be posting to Twitter my reaction. I think you'll enjoy it. We also have a challenge for you during this break to not only submit your ideas for snacks for next year, but to also reply to someone new, or reply to someone that you don't know, get engaged in that conversation on Twitter. So we'll go ahead and take a break.